up, guys? I'm Cassie.
I'm Sara.
And today we're talking about the Gabby, Petito, and Brian Laundrie case.
The story of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie started back in June 2021 when they embarked on a cross-country trip. They planned to travel in Gabby's white Ford van to the West Coast and visit state and national parks across the western United States. She had been excited to share her journey with her family and others on social media. She maintained regular contact with her family during her travels. However, communication suddenly stopped around the end of August. Moab, Utah police had an encounter with Gabby and Brian on August 12th, where officers described them as having engaged in some sort of altercation. Although the two were described as getting into a physical fight following an argument, both of them reported that they are in love and engaged to be married and desperately didn't wish to see anyone charged with a crime. Body camera footage from Moab, Utah police shows them talking with Brian and Gabby. At officers' suggestion, the couple separated for the night, and according to a report, it describes Gabby as confused and emotional. After evaluating the totality of the circumstances, police didn't believe that the situation escalated to the level of domestic assault as much as that of a mental health crisis. In a 911 audio recording from that day, a caller tells dispatch he wanted to report a domestic dispute and described a white van with a Florida license plate. The caller said they were driving by and the gentleman was slapping the girl. Then we stopped, the caller added. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off. On August 27th, a Louisiana couple vacationing in Jackson, Wyoming, said they saw Gabby and Brian involved in a commotion as they were leaving the Mary Piglet's Tex-Mex restaurant. Nina Angelo, who was at the restaurant with her boyfriend, said Gabby was in tears and Brian was visibly angry, going in and out of the restaurant several times and showing anger toward the staff around the hostess stand. A restaurant manager said she saw an incident at the restaurant on August 27th but declined to give her name or describe what happened and said that the restaurant did not have surveillance video of the incident.
Basically, they're a lovely couple in love going on a cross-country trip. And then they got pulled over by police because they were seen hitting each other, which I did put the video and stuff up there, which you'll see and stuff, but like Gabby's in the back of the car, she's crying. Brian doesn't really seem fazed. But again, I mean, it could just be like a lover's quarrel, you know, like
They're
girls.
desperately in love.
Yeah, girls.
About to get married or getting ready to get married or whatever.
And girls tend to be a little more sensitive, so maybe she was just like upset. It was stressful. A lot was going on. I think that traveling, you know, with a significant other and all that can be a lot of pressure, you know. But I also heard, I don't know how true this is, but apparently this is what I heard when the whole story was coming out, that they were engaged, but then they broke the engagement off.
Maybe to...
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's true. We don't have it in this information, but I remember hearing something along all the other articles that came out that they broke the engagement off. So they might have already been having some problems.
Gabby's family told police they were last in contact with her during the last week of August. Before the last communication, Gabby was believed to have been in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. In a news conference in September, Gabby's family attorney Richard Stafford said the family's last communication with her was August 30th, but they do not believe the message they received was from her. Stafford shared a timeline of events on September 17th as the family knows it. On August 24th, Gabby FaceTimed with her mom and told her she was leaving Utah and heading to the Teton Range in Wyoming. On August 25th, there were multiple text messages between Gabby and her mom. Her family believes she was in the Tetons on this date. On August 27th, there were more text messages between Gabby and her mom, during which her family believes she was still in the Tetons. On August 30th, her family received their last text message from Gabby. They doubted that she wrote that text message. According to Stafford, the message read, "No service in Yosemite." Also in September, a woman publicly claimed she and her boyfriend gave Brian a ride on August 29th in Wyoming, and Brian claimed he'd been camping by himself for multiple days while Gabby was in their van working on social media posts. In a series of videos posted on TikTok, Miranda Baker said she and her boyfriend picked up Brian that evening while he was hitchhiking in Coulter Bay. Brian told them he had been camping at a site outside the Grand Teton National Park near the Snake River. Once Brian found out Baker and her boyfriend were going to Jackson Hole instead of Jackson, He got agitated, asked them to stop the vehicle, and got out near the Jackson Dam, according to Baker. A seasonal Wyoming resident said she picked up Brian not far from Jackson Lake Dam on August 29th and gave him a ride to the Spread Creek dispersed camping area. Brian told her he and his fiancée had a travel blog and that she was in their van at the camping area working on the blog, and he had been hiking along the Snake River embankment for a few days. She later provided the FBI with that information. She said that when they arrived at Spread Creek, she dropped Brian off before the gate at the entrance of the camping area. She said she offered once or twice to take him farther, but he was insistent that he be dropped off at the entrance. She picked him up around 6:15 p.m., which was just a few minutes after Baker had said he had departed her vehicle. Like we said, Brian and Gabby are going on, their cross-country thing.
Racket trip.
They're going on their little cross-country trip, but then they separate and he goes hiking off for a couple days while she's in the van working on social media posts and their travel blog. A little fishy.
You're telling me they're out in these new places. He just leaves her in the van for a couple days and he's like, I'm just gonna go hike by myself a little ways away. See you in a couple days. No. I don't really buy that.
No, I don't either. It's
it's weird.
You're in a new place. You're obviously going to want to go check it out. She's going to want to go too, I feel.
Yeah, and this is not just some random person you're hanging out with. This is your fiance.
This is the person you're going to spend
Yeah, you're not going to just separate.
The rest of your, no. And wouldn't this be something you put on your travel blog or your YouTube? Channel.
I don't know. That's a little suspicious.
Brian returned to the couple's Northport home where his parents also live on September 1st, according to police. A license plate reader shows that the vehicle exited Interstate 75 into Northport at 10:26 a.m. The white vehicle they had been traveling in was later recovered by police at the home. It was processed and there was some material in there authorities will be going through. Northport police released an image of Gabby's van, which they say Brian drove back to Florida, September 11th. After not being able to get in touch with her, Gabby's family, who lives in New York, reported her missing to police in Suffolk County, New York. Northport authorities went to Brian's home that night and asked to speak to him and his family, but were handed information for their attorney, and that is the extent of the conversation with them, the police spokesperson says. September 16th. In a letter read by Gabby's family attorney at a news briefing held by police, her family begs for Brian's family to help in the investigation. Please, if you or your family have any decency left, please tell us where Gabby is located, Stafford says. Tell us if we are even looking in the right place. All we want is for Gabby to come home. Please help us make that happen. He says Gabby's family reached out to Brian's family earlier in the month for information on her whereabouts, but his family refused to answer. We haven't been able to sleep or eat, and our lives are falling apart, the letter adds. September 17th. After several days of both Gabby's family and the police pleading with Brian's family to cooperate in the investigation, his family requested the police come to their home, where they shared that they haven't seen him since September 14th. The police spokesperson tells reporters, "We have been trying all week to talk to his family, to talk to Brian, and now they've called us here on Friday. We've gone to the home, and they are saying now they have not seen their son." The Laundrie family attorney says the whereabouts of Brian are currently unknown. The FBI is currently at the Laundrie residence removing property to assist in locating Brian. As of now, the FBI is now looking for both Gabby and Brian. Local and federal authorities kick off a search for the 23-year-old man.
It goes from okay, a little suspicious to hardcore downhill. So Brian returns home without Gabby. I remember seeing this on the news or TikTok or wherever, and I was like, they're not they don't have a arrest warrant out for him. They're just oh, I wonder where she is. This man comes home from a cross-country trip without the fiance. What?
Maybe they're just thinking, oh, they decided that it's for the best.
And she was gonna bike home? How's she gonna get home? His parents should have been yo, where's Gabby?
His parents are probably the type of parents that
don't care.
No, they'll believe whatever their son says.
I guess.
They've probably babied him, and they're probably super overprotective parents.
That's true. The family won't answer anything. Anything. How awful can you be?
Right?
This family is begging for help to find their daughter. And you're just like,
sorry, it's not my problem. Yeah, she's not my daughter.
Pretty much. To me, that, like, in the silence, to me, that's what they're saying.
Yeah. September 18th. Northport Police says authorities are conducting a search for Brian at the Carlton Reserve, a nature area with more than 80 miles of hiking trails in Venice, Florida. Roughly 50 law enforcement officers from 5 local agencies and the FBI are searching for him. Meanwhile, the FBI announces the agency and its partners are also conducting ground surveys in Grand Teton National Park relevant to Gabby's disappearance. The national park is where she is believed to have been before her last communication with her family. September 19th. Human remains discovered in Teton County are consistent with the description of Gabby. Full forensic identification has not been completed to confirm 100% that we found Gabby, but her family has been notified of this discovery. September 20th. The parents of Brian are questioned at their home by the FBI. Christopher and Roberta Laundrie were escorted from their home and returned after federal agents executed a search warrant. Authorities searched the home for hours. September 21st. The Teton County coroner confirms that the human remains found in the Bridger-Teton National Forest are those of Gabby Petito. The cause of death remains pending final autopsy results. September 23rd. While authorities continued their search for Brian at the Carlton Reserve, a federal arrest warrant was issued for him. While this warrant allows law enforcement to arrest Mr. Laundrie, the FBI and our partners across the country continue to investigate the facts and circumstances of Ms. Petito's homicide. We urge individuals with knowledge of Mr. Laundrie's role in this matter or his current whereabouts to contact the FBI. He is suspected of using a debit card and PIN for accounts that do not belong to him for charges of more than $1,000 sometime between August 30th and September 1st. Police are finally getting on this.
You're like, oh,
she's missing? Let's look. And they're getting on their case.
Yeah.
About like, yo, we know you know where Gabby is. They know.
Oh, they know. For sure they know. But they did find human remains.
Yes, they did.
Where she was last seen. So everyone's like, oh, it's Gabby. They're not sure, which tells us that either whatever she looked like was unrecognizable or she was out there for a good amount of time. Enough for animals to get to her and for decomposition.
Yes.
To start to set in, sort of. So... it kind of fits so far with the timeline of, like, when she went missing.
Yeah.
Because at this point, we were, like, September 19th, so that's, like, a couple weeks out from when she was last heard from.
Yeah. October 12th. After a detailed investigation by forensic pathologists, anthropologists, and local law enforcement with assistance from the FBI, Gabby's cause of death was determined to be strangulation. The coroner says that Gabby's body was outside in the wilderness for about 3 to 4 weeks before being found. Brian was still missing at this time. Authorities have not explicitly connected him to her death either. October 20th. Weeks into the search for Brian at Florida's Carlton Reserve, investigators found what appeared to be human remains along with personal items including a backpack and notebook belonging to him. The items were found in an area that had been underwater. Earlier in the day, the Laundrie family attorney said some articles belonging to Brian were found off a trail he frequented at a site connected to the Carlton Reserve. His parents informed the FBI and Northport Police the night prior that they intended to come to the park to search for him. Law enforcement met them there. After a brief search, the family and law enforcement found articles belonging to him. The Sarasota County Medical Examiner and a cadaver dog were called to the Carlton Reserve area. October 21st. The FBI announced that a comparison of dental records confirmed the human remains found a day earlier were those of Brian Laundrie. It was also indicated the items had been out there for some time. A source with knowledge of the investigation also said that the notebook discovered among other belongings is possibly salvageable. They found him.
They did. So there's kind of like a lot that went on. So first, let's start with Gabby. So they found out what her cause of death was.
Strangulation.
Yeah. So it wasn't, a lot of people originally thought that maybe it was an accident, like maybe something happened, she fell off whatever they were climbing or whatever. But that wasn't the case. She was strangled. And then we go to Brian, who they searched for a long time. They got Dog the Bounty Hunter up in here, which I was like, yes, he's going to find him. And then he hurt himself. But anyways, so what I find suspicious is that the parents were like, oh, I'm going to go out, or we're going to go out and try to find him in his special area that he likes to hang out. And they just so happened to find his remains and his belongings. I find that, like, so...
No, they had to know.
I find it very suspicious.
They had to know. He probably was like, come check on me in a couple days or whatever. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to go probably chill out in my special place. Yeah. Come check on me.
We didn't say in here, but apparently his cause of death was a gunshot wound, I believe.
So he probably shot himself?
Yes, but they didn't find the gun that I heard of during the time when this was going on. Like, I didn't know if they found the gun or not. So that's where it was like, oh, were the parents more involved because where'd the gun go? You know, like, yeah, it was like a swampy area, but if it, like, drained or whatever and they found his body, then why wouldn't they have found the gun too?
If the gun's missing, somebody was there.
So in his notebook, I'm assuming it's legit, or it could just be something that someone made up, but it's a suicide note from Brian. It says, like, to mom and dad, it talks about the whole thing with Gabby and that the relationship was starting to get strained, and that once she was gone, he couldn't handle anymore. So then, obviously, he killed himself. But I don't know if that really is his suicide note or if it's something that someone just kind of, like, made up from the internet. But if that's the case, then... But still, where's the gun? We found out what happened to Gabby and Brian. Like, this is a story that captivated the world for weeks.
This was like our summer.
Yeah, like, I was like, oh, I gotta know what's going on. Like, I was so interested. I didn't know of Gabby and Brian, like, before the murder and everything, but I remember seeing TikToks about it, and I was like, dang, this is crazy. In the end, it's believed that Brian strangled Gabby and then killed himself in the reserve like everyone thought. This is one that a lot of you should know of, so let us know if there's anything that we missed, if you heard anything about the gun being missing, about the notebook, or anything like that.
So if you like this video about Brian and Gabby, make sure you check out this video right here.
We will see you guys next Friday. Peace!